Hello, it's the 1st of September and it's time we did a homestead tour. I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about my friend Lorella. Her channel's called Lorella, Not a Farm Girl, a Homestead Adventure, and Lorella has just finished doing Vlogust, which is a video a day, each day during August, and as a finale she produced the most fabulous film. Now Lorella works off her farm during the week, and she is a sign language interpreter, which is an incredible job to do. So the fact that she manages to get so much done on her farm is just amazing. Anyway, Lorella invited some children who are deaf to come to her farm, spend a day there, and she's made 2 videos. One is a day on the farm, which is narrated by some children, and the other video is a group of children on her farm and just doing what children do best. So I'm going to leave the link up here and in the information below. I'm going to invite you to go and see those videos, but also to subscribe to Lorella's channel, because I think if you enjoy the content on this channel, you'll very much like hers. Throughout this video I will put up some overhead footage and highlight whereabouts on the homestead I am, so you can get a feel for the area that I'm in. The beans are doing really well. This one is a Greek gigantes bean, which you don't eat the pod, you just eat the little white bean, or in this case the big white bean from the centre of it. And nearly everything in the garden is doing pretty well, except for the squashes in this bed. They have just crumpled, they've dried out, they've shriveled up, they've got powdery mildew, but they have already produced some fabulous fruit. And these ones here likewise are starting to die off, but again they've got some fruit, so I'm not going to complain about that. And I think the main reason that this has happened is I've just got far too much in this bed for the space. I ended up putting 6 squash plants in here. There are 3 yacon which have now just started flowering with this very lovely little tiny flower, just like a sunflower but in miniature. And behind them then there are these beans, which I thought were going to be dwarf beans. And they're not. They are indeed climbing ballotti beans, and I shoved them in there for the sake of putting somewhere to put them, not realising they were going to grow that huge and therefore use masses of water up. So this poor old bed, I think, has just got much too dry, added to which it is right beneath the willow tree. So all in all, I've overcrowded it. It's not keeping water underground, my mistake, but the plants have done really well to produce as much fruit as they have. Here just outside the polytunnel I've got the potato bed, and as I'm lifting the potatoes I'm replacing them with perennial flowers. So far I've done the far end and a couple of plants at this end. This gorgeous dahlia is supposed to be a cafe au lait and therefore be the palest pinky apricot colour. Well, it's not at all, but I am delighted with this beautiful pink flower. I may not have ordered a pink flower like that, but I am jolly pleased that we have got it. I think you can tell by the light it's quite late in the afternoon, but it is a really nice time of day to be out in the garden. And behind me just here is the hydrangea that I bought a couple of weeks ago at Wisley Gardens. It's now settled into the ground really nicely, and I'm looking forward to over the next few years watching that grow into a very big and beautiful shrub. down here at the far end of the garden, behind the polytunnel, all the rose hips are starting to really do their thing, and it won't be too long before I'm out here harvesting them. Not long after we moved here, I planted these 3 silver birch trees in a triangle at the bottom of the garden. I really like them as trees. I like they're light and they're airy, and I love the way they sound as the wind whistles through them and rattles their leaves. Here in the polytunnel, everything is looking fabulous. We've got powdery mildew going on, but that is not stopping my tomatoes. They are looking wonderful. And for the first time today, we've eaten a homegrown melon, and it looks to me as though there could be some more of them ready to harvest. There's a couple lurking here as well. It's very exciting. I'm very pleased. I'm eating yet another tomato. There are masses of them here. They're incredibly sweet. For a girl who wasn't going to grow tomatoes, I am very grateful that I have, and lesson has been learnt. I will be growing them again next year. Out here in the archway over my broad walk, the spaghetti squashes are doing very well. They are just prolific. And again, the leaves are struggling. We've got powdery mildew. I'm not actually going to worry about it this time of year. I could try and pick them off, but there would really be very few leaves left on the plant. Quite happy for it to just be as it is this year. I'll make sure all the leaves go off to the municipal tip rather than being composted. I planted a couple of squashes just outside the turkey run. They have done really well. They've grown across the run and they've produced some really excellent fruits. What are you up to, boy? You alright? You're just watching, are you? Oh, I see what you're watching. You're watching the turkeys. Well, it's probably time that the boys went in, isn't it? Come on then, boys, in you go. Come on. Yep, in you go. There you are. Good chap. Into your run. So the turkeys that were going to be kept under cover the entire time and never be allowed to free range are free ranging most days. And until they start jumping up on things, I'm going to carry on letting them do that because it rests the grass inside their run. If they're out here pecking the grass, eating the clover, and just generally, well, do you know what they're really enjoying? Just sunbathing and then finding shade under some of the trees. I think it's really good for them as much as possible to be out of that run. Here in bed number 5 in the annual vegetable garden, I had a mystery squash growing. It was a self-sown volunteer squash. Well, as luck would have it, it turns out that that is indeed a jumbo pink banana squash. I am absolutely certain of this because of the huge fruit that are growing. They are, oh, they're lovely. So they're about 15 inches long, and without standing back a little, it's really hard to to get to film them. So at the moment it's just the 3 fruit on them, although there could well be more because they are spanning the full half length of the veg garden. This morning I spent quite a while out here in the food forest. I've cut back a lot of the buddleia. The last lot of storm we had broken quite a lot off it, and that was dying back. and there was a lot of flowers that had now died, and by cutting it back really hard, that's going to rejuvenate it, reinvigorate it, and it will probably grow and produce more blooms before the end of the year. And the other thing that I did this morning was to tackle some of the weeds by the front gate near the duck enclosure. I've cleared a whole car boot full of stinging nettles and brambles, and they've already gone off to the municipal tip. And round here at the back of the homestead, I think I'm going to leave my final word today to Big White and his friends.